5-12 matchup in the Midwest brings us Clemson, 5 seed, against McNeese State, 12 seed. McNeese, is this their second year? Were they in last year? They were in last year, right?
Smoked by Gonzaga.
Yeah. So in here for the second year in a row, 27-6. Clemson also 27-6. In this game, I really think it's going to be about Clemson's size and their ability to shoot the three. I think those are really the two key areas. I think Clemson on the offensive glass is going to be able to just get all over it. They're 65th in the country in offensive rebound rate. McNeese State, 257th in defensive rebound rate. So I think that will be a massive issue considering Clemson's able to get on the glass against power conference teams. I can only imagine what they're going to be able to do to McNeese here. And then the other area, as I mentioned, Clemson, super, super efficient from behind the arc, 37.2% on the season, good for 28th in the country. And McNeese is very willing to let you, pick your number on getting up threes. They allow, their 3-point rate defensively is 46.6. So they're really, really willing to allow you to get threes up. And if you're giving Clemson open threes, like UNC learned that when Clemson hosted UNC just kept giving Clemson open threes, and everything goes down when they're wide open. So, I think those two things together, Clemson super efficient from behind the arc, and even if they're not making it, they have Shefflin locked in there to clean things up against a pretty poor McNeese State defensive rebounding team. I think that sets up pretty well for a pretty comfortable Clemson win.
Yeah, that's exactly how I see it as well. I mean, there's a lot of sexy 12 seeds in this tournament, and McNeese is one of them. They have their student managers going viral for whatever the hell's going on there with the pregame entries. I don't even know. I don't even pay attention to that
They're
stuff.
They're trying to do like the 49ers like beatbox entry.
Yeah. I feel like an old head, just not like being caught up with what's going on with all that. So I got to get caught up with the times. But overall, I think people are going to be interested in betting them because of like that narrative, I guess. And they're like a fun team, and Will Wade's there, and it is like a team that has a lot of power conference talent, or former power conference talent. Guys like Brandon Murray. I think Alan Breed was out for the season. So, and then there's some other guys like Sincere Parker as well, who was at St. Louis for a while. But yeah, I think this offense, the offense of Clemson perfectly sets up against McNeese State. McNeese, they deny the rim at all costs. They take away pick and roll actions as well, which Clemson's not super reliant on that anyway. And yeah, Clemson can live in two areas. They live on the offensive glass, and they can live from behind the arc with Chase Hunter, Jaden Zachary, and even the bigs can space the floor a little bit. Chauncey Wiggins in the spot-up game, I think, will be pretty important here as well. And yeah, this McNeese team is small. They're very small up front. They play like Christian Shoemate is playing the 5 a lot of the time. Joe Charles is at the 5 a lot of the time. And yeah, overall, I just don't really think that's going to work out all that well for a defense that, they kind of rely on turning you over at times. And I think that's kind of going to be their ticket, although Clemson does take care of the ball well. They're not going to have Dylan Hunter, most likely. I believe he broke his wrist and is done for the season. So that's one less guard for a team that didn't have a ton of depth. But overall, I do trust Chase Hunter and Jaden Zachary to go out there and play 40 minutes and take care of the ball at a high level if they have to. So, yeah, I think this sets up perfectly for Clemson on the offensive end. It sets up well for them on the defensive end as well. They're like one of the best transition defenses in the entire country. They allow transition at the lowest rate in the entire nation. McNeese kind of relies on that. Like, they get a ton of turnovers for touchdowns, and they're not really going to be able to get those here in this game. So, yeah, I love how Clemson sets up here, kind of going against that trendy upset pick. Although, I have taken some upset picks so far in these previews. This isn't one that I'm really willing to go with. And it's probably the most popular one outside of Colorado State, who's sitting as a favorite, who I also went against with Memphis. So, yeah. I like Clemson here.
Yeah, I think like the only path really would be for, I guess, for McNeese to shoot the three well. They're top 80 in the country in 3-point percentage, right around 35.5%. And if they're able to get on the offensive glass, where they've had some success, they're top 40 in the country in offensive rebound rate. So those are really the areas I think they could maybe look to exploit. And it is a make or miss sport, right? Basketball. If you're on one day, you never know really what could happen. But I think it's just a really bad matchup for McNeese overall. I expect Clemson to exploit that right from the jump and put these guys away pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I mean McNeese, they've competed with some power conference teams this year. Like went to Alabama, only lost by 8. Competed with Liberty, not a power conference team, but they lost by 4 there, lost by 7 to Santa Clara, only lost by 3 to Mississippi State. So although they did lose those games, they kept them really tight. But I think this is probably the worst matchup of those games against Clemson. I think they kind of take away everything that McNeese likes to do. So yeah, definitely like the Tigers here.
Yeah, so probably a popular upset pick, but not one we're going with. We're going to take Clemson and move on to the round of 32.